Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Something caught my eye then. Welcome back to the Beastie Room. Today I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that are happening with these cereal boxes. Now, as you would have remembered, when we first got back into this room, we ended up having to use these cereal boxes for many of our spiders to try and gain some space. Now, this is just a temporary thing. Eventually we will move all back over to the glass enclosures, but in here we haven't got the room, so we've had to work out a way around it where we can keep the majority of our stuff and still breed. Now, as you know, we've only just recently, the last sort of couple of months, been starting to pair things up and get things going. So today I wanted to show you or share with you one of the successes of the cereal boxes. Now, we got in here, we got a Salmon minia, which, as you all know, is a New World spider. Very striking spider, jet black, orange chevrons on the legs. They look absolutely gorgeous. And we paired this girl back on the 17th of the 12th and the 11th of the 12th, 23. So back in December. And she ended up producing an egg sac, which we were really pleased about, because one of the things we wasn't 100% sure how these containers were going to work out when it comes to breeding, and we've had to change a few bits and pieces. So now, for actually pairing these guys, we found it easier to pair them overnight in the butterfly net, and then we can just leave them to it and let them get on. And often the only way that we know that we've had a successful pairing is if we see our male make a fresh sperm web. Now, some of the males, they must have got it on real early as soon as the lights went out, because we've come in the morning and some of them have actually produced a sperm web inside the net, which has been quite interesting. It's a cool thing to see, and it shows that they've actually been in and they have inseminated that female successfully. Quite often, if you find that your male has not produced a new sperm web, then he hasn't used what he already had. So it's always a nice little trick to remember: if he makes a new sperm web, he's been successful. Now, we paired her twice, as we do all of our females, and she in turn produced a sac. Now, the sac was produced back on the 14th of February, and it's now recently hatched. And we can have a little look at that, because what we done this time round was we allowed our female to hatch the egg sac inside the box. Now, as you remember, quite often we would take, for certain species, we would take the egg sac away and do it ourselves. With these generally speaking, are very good mums, and can, to all intents and purposes, be left to do the job on their own. And when I say they are good mums, I mean they don't have a habit of eating the egg sacs. So there you can see our female. She's still in fabulous condition. She's coming around to have a look at camera lady right now. Look at those orange chevrons on the feet. Absolutely stunning. And you can see there how she's webbed all the sides of the enclosure up. And we can see that all of our nymphs, they're in stage 2 at the moment, and they're all up the side here. Now, I'm guessing that when this is on the shelf, the back of the box is where the spider is sitting now, is the cooler end, and the front here, right here, where our slings are, this is the warmer side. So I'm guessing that all of our slings are moved over to the warmer side. So they're getting a little bit more heat, and they're getting some of this heat from our lighting. So the back half of the shelf is relatively cool, and the front half of the shelf stays warmer because of the heat coming off of our LED lights. If I turn this around a little bit, you get to see her. She is absolutely lovely. We get a bit of light on her. Look at that. Isn't she wonderful? Got that jet black covering, almost looks like velvet, and then gold, orange, stripes on the legs there, just fantastic. And we can see our babies that are all down in the front there. We've got a couple on the very bottom. They look like they're about to molt. And you'll notice how our female is very, very careful around them. They've got one more molt and these will be slings. And then it will be time to actually catch them up and take them out. You notice she's being relatively well behaved. We've not seen any defensive attitude from her at all. And this is because we've not entered the inside of this nest chamber. As long as we're on the outside looking in, she is not particularly bothered. Is there a couple in there already? Oh yeah, look, yeah, you're right. There's a couple there that have already molted and they just need to harden up, so they're very, very fresh. Yes, you can see, oh yeah, you can see a few of them now. So they are literally on the cusp of all turning into slings. So within the next 24 hours or so, we will end up with a whole bunch of brand new Erminia slings. Fabulous stuff. Absolutely fabulous. So that in itself is a really, really cool success. And that gives us the encouragement that these boxes are going to work out really, really well. Now that being said, the Erminia is one of the easier spiders to breed. So we can't sort of get too excited, you know. We're going to see what happens with things like our pokies and stuff. Now, that being with this one, let's put the lid back on. I very much doubt she would actually leave with all her babies in there. So we're just going to close that up. And you can see now, even when we're putting the lid back on, you can probably still see her here. She's not giving any threat display at all. She's very, very calm. So if we go over and have a look, we have got some more successes. And if we have a little look up here, here we go. If we look in this one here, you can see this is our Pseudoglomerus gigas, which I think has been renamed again. I think it's had about 3 different name changes. And you can see there that she is holding an egg sac as well. Now that egg sac was produced on the 17th of this month, so it's a relatively new one. And you'll also see that she's actually holding that on the outside of the box. She's not gone, sorry, not the outside of the box. She's inside the box, but she's holding it to the front of the box, right out in the open. And that is where she has stayed. And that is because our heater is in this corner and she is getting the extra warmth coming off of our heater. So it just goes to show that even when they're doing stuff like this, the heat will actually step over everything else. It will, you know, it will be more important than anything else they're doing. So that's a really cool thing. And she's been very, very calm as well. So we're careful with what we do. And the gap here is where our Erminia is. So we will put her back. We'll do that now. No, we'll leave that for a minute. So we've got to be careful. Now, as we go along the shelf here, we can see that many of these have been paired. There's a sapphire pink toe in here. She's been paired. We've got Braunschorny females here, but we haven't got a male. So if anyone's got a male, we'd be most grateful. As we go through, we then hit pokies. Now, all of these down here pretty much are all pokies. Many of our Metallicas, there's a whole line of Metallicas here. Many of these have been paired. Some of them have already molted out, and so they need to be paired again. But then others are still intact. So we're fingers crossed we're going to get somewhere with them. And this is one of the things that we really, really hope that these tubs were going to be good for, is the Poecilitherias, the pokies. And that's because they often like a spike in temperature and humidity to get them to drop their sacs. And with these tubs, we can actually do that. So once they've been paired a little while, we can pull them forward, because this front edge of the shelving, you can see our lights under here. The front edge of this shelving gets a little bit warmer than the back. And also our heater is here as well. So this is often why all these spiders, see all these Metallicas, they're all sitting out. They're all getting that heat. Now then, if we go and have a little look, we can go across there and we can see all the different ones. Now we're going to go to another one down here in this enclosure here. Now this is an enclosure that came in a collection recently, and we can just about see in there. When we zoom in, we should. I can even open the door with this one. She's so steady. She is so steady. Just going to be very, very gentle. And we can see there on the left hand side, there's an egg sac. Now this is a Lacedoria parabana, which is the salmon pink bird eater. You can see that egg sac there. Now, an interesting story with this spider. There was a chap that contacted us who needed to sell up his collection, and we offered to buy it, and we went all the way to Barnsley, believe it or not, where many of you guys would have been at the show yesterday, at the Barnsley show. Well, we went all the way there to pick up this collection, and this female had produced this sac literally about 4 days before we were due to go and collect the spiders. So what we decided to do, we decided to leave her in the enclosure and put the enclosure in the boot of the car. And to be honest with you, I really didn't expect her to still have it when we got home. I thought maybe the jogging around, the vibration, everything else would have upset her, and she probably would have eaten the sac. But she didn't. She's still got it. We are now on week 2, and she's still got it. You would have noticed there when camera lady looked down into the enclosure, there's a dry bowl there. This is her water bowl, and that is purposely left dry because only yesterday she came out and dumped the egg sac in the water bowl and started wandering around. So I tongue fed her a large hissing cockroach, and she took it immediately. She was obviously very, very hungry, and she ate the roach, and after about an hour or two she went back, picked up the egg sac and took it back down into the burrow there. So she obviously is hungry and probably thirsty. She would have been a little bit dehydrated as well because of producing the egg sac. If our water bowl had been full up, we probably would have lost that egg sac because she would have dumped it in the water. And we've had that with other spiders. Blondies and sturmies have both dropped egg sacs in the water bowl. So from now on, when we've got spiders that are ready to produce an egg sac, we will take the water bowls away or let them dry out. We won't risk doing it. We've got other ways of getting hydration into our spider, and that's mainly through good quality food. So we can do that. So that's an interesting little point that we've picked up there. Now we've got another one over here. If we come over here, this is our Chilobrachys species electric blue, and you can see the webbing in that back corner, how she's webbed that up. And she's underneath that, all of that. This is very, very damp enclosure now, and you can see where she's completely sealed it up with webbing. Absolutely amazing. Now she is on an egg sac as well, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll leave her nice and quiet. This girl did in fact produce an egg sac once before in our old room, but unfortunately she ate it. And I think some of that was down to the fact that she was maybe a little bit too young. So she's obviously much older now. She's another year older. She's bigger. Everything is looking better. Now if we come over here and have a look in this one, we can see another way. What we want to be looking at now is the actual webbing in the mouth of the burrow, and we can see how they produce this webbing to stop anything going down there, and anything that is likely to go down there will give forewarning for our female to come up and defend the entrance to the burrow. Now in here we've got an Ephobophus murinus, which is the skeleton leg. She has got an egg sac, and interestingly enough, this particular female, we have bred her before. When we were successful last time, she disappeared completely and completely sealed it up, disappeared. And before that, she had produced 2 sacs before that last one, and she ate both of them. But the very last one, we were successful and we got youngsters. This time round, what she does is every morning when we come in and put the lights on, she is sitting in the mouth of that burrow, waiting, just sitting there. And she's done this every single day. But she's still got the egg sac. She still goes back down, looks after the egg sac during the daytime. So it's a really interesting behaviour and something that we've not noticed with other spiders. We do see them from time to time move the egg sac, leave it, go and get something to eat, maybe have a drink. But we've never seen it on the regularity that this girl does here. So it's a very interesting thing, and maybe it just might be something that's something that particular species gets into doing. Now then, we got on the one next door, we got in here, we got a Salmon. Now this is an old female, and unfortunately you can't really see a great deal. But where that bit of wood sticks up at the back, right down in the left hand corner, you can see a little bit of webbing. And then to the right of it, you can also see a piece of webbing as well. And literally right down in the front on the edge of the moss. So literally just here. That's it, just down on that piece there. Right on the edge of that moss there is really, really thick, like snow white webbing. And we haven't seen this spider for possibly maybe 3 months. We've not seen her. Now, we did around about that just before the 3-month mark, we had a male Salmon, and I did in fact dig her up and get her back up onto the surface. And she had nothing, she was fine, she was nothing there. And I dropped a male in there after about a week or so of letting her settle down again. We dropped a male in there, and he spent around about 3 weeks on the surface. We never ever saw that female again. And then he was up on top doing his stuff. She disappeared down below. And it was only about a week or so ago, I put a sign on the thing here that we've got an egg sac on the 17th of the 3rd. Now this is going on the information that we've got in front of us. So what we're doing now is I've noticed that there's a change in the webbing, and there's a high possibility that she is under there with an egg sac. Now you'll know it from the past that we've got produced egg sacs with these on 3 different occasions, and every time they've either eaten them or they've been infertile. So this time round I noticed the change in the webbing, and what I've done now is I've literally just left her be. So we're not going to touch this tank at all. We're just going to completely leave it alone, and we're going to give it probably 35 to 40 days, and then if nothing's appeared, then we will go in and have a look. But there's a high possibility that she is on an egg sac as we speak, which will be an absolutely amazing thing. That would be a really cool spider to breed. They are one of the ones that do need to be bred more and more in captivity. So yeah, so overall we're finding that these boxes are actually proving to be relatively good. They're being relatively successful at the moment, and we've got many more to hopefully come off and see what happens. We've got bits and pieces scattered all over the room, so lots and lots of more pairings to be done in the future, and we will really see what the success rates are, but only time will tell. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed that little look around and see some of what's going on now, just to see that some of our pairings are actually reaching that point where we are getting egg sacs now. Obviously with the fossorial stuff, it's very difficult to see anything that's going on without disturbing them, and we'd much rather just leave them be, give them their time and see what happens. We're going to do a little bit more in terms of the fossorial stuff in maybe letting them hatch out in the enclosures, and see if we get any better results with that. We've had mixed results in the past in terms of the health of the babies. So sometimes the babies seem to do really well when they're left with mum, other times not so well. So it's another interesting facet of the breeding side that we need to sort of like try and concentrate a bit more on and see if we can't learn a little bit more about what's going on. This particular bunch in here seem very healthy. I'm very pleased with these. Like I say, probably be another week or so, and we'll be hooking them all out and getting them all into little vial pots so we look after them individually. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed that, and as exciting as we are about these egg sacs. We love an egg sac. Right, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I will see you soon, guys.